Assalamu alaikum learners, my name is Muazzam Ali and welcome to Data Analysis with Python course offered by MT Learners. In this lab session, you will learn all about data wrangling in data analysis. After completing this lab, you will be able to handle missing values, correct data format, standardize and normalize data. Actually, data wrangling is the process of converting data from the initial format to a format that may be better for our further analysis. At this point, we assume we have data set into a pandas data frame. Here we are using the same data set as we used in our previous Jupyter session. If you don't know how to import data set, you can see my previous Jupyter session video on how to import data in Python. Link is given in the description box. So we can see first five rows of our data set by head method as df dot head. As we can see, several question marks appeared in the data frame. Those are missing values which may affect our further analysis. So here is a question: how do we identify all those missing values and deal with them? Here, missing data comes with the question mark. We will replace question mark with NaN, that not a number. That's the Python's default missing value marker for reasons of computational speed and convenience. So to do this, we will import numpy as np. So now we will replace question mark with NaN. So df dot replace question mark with np dot nan in place is equal to true. Df dot head. The missing values are converted by default. Now we will use is null or not null function to identify these missing values. Actually, the output of this true function is a Boolean value indicating whether the value that is passed into the argument is in fact missing data. So now missing data, sorry, missing data, df dot is null missing data dot head. Here, true means the value is a missing value, while false means the value is not a missing value. Now we will count missing values in each column. To do this, we will use for loop in Python, so we can quickly figure it out the number of missing values in each column. As mentioned above, true means a missing value and false means the value is present in the dataset. For column in missing data dot columns dot values dot to list print missing data at that column dot value counts. So based on the summary, each column has 205 rows of data and 7 of the columns containing missing data. As normalized losses has 41 missing data values, and num of doors column have two missing values, and bore column has four missing values, stroke column has four missing values, horsepower has two missing values, and peak rpm has two missing values, and price column has four missing values. So now question is that how to deal with the missing data. So here we have mainly two options. We just simply drop the data, and we can replace the data with some other values. In the first scenario, we can drop the whole row, or we can drop the whole column. And in the second scenario, we can replace it by mean, replace it by frequency, or replace it by based on some other functions. Whole column should be dropped only if the most entries in the column are empty. In our data set, none of the columns are empty enough to drop entirely. We have some freedom in choosing which method to replace data. However, some methods may seem more reasonable than others. As we can see, normalized losses, boards, stroke, horsepower, and peak RPM columns have have numeric values. The missing values could be replaced by mean. To do this, we take the average of each of them, then replace the missing value with the mean value. So for that, first we take the average of each columns. So firstly, we take average of normalized losses. Or we could take average of normalized losses. So df normalized losses dot, firstly we convert it as type, we convert it into float, data type float. Then we take mean value of that column. Axis is equal to 0. So average value for normalized losses is 122. We will replace the missing values with the average value, with the mean value. So df normalized losses dot replace np dot nan value with avg norm loss, no, sorry, normalized loss in place is equal to true. So now we will take average of board column. So df for, I think the column name is bow. Okay, small b dot s type float dot mean axis is equal to 0. So average value is 3.3297. So we will replace the value mean value to the missing value. So to do this, df or dot replace np dot nan with average value in place is equal to true. So now we will take the average value of stroke column df dot stroke. We will access the stroke column as in square bracket, just like we did it before, but we can also access the column by dot method. Df dot stroke dot s type float to convert it into float. Then for mean we will use mean method. X is equal to 0. So average stroke value is equal to 3.25. So we will replace it df dot stroke dot replace with np dot nan with avg stroke, and in place is equal to true. So next we take it the column horsepower df dot horsepower dot s type convert float, convert it to the float. For mean we will use mean method. Axis is equal to 0, and we will store it into avg horsepower. Then we will replace the average value with missing values. So df dot horsepower, sorry, horsepower dot replace np dot nan with average value in place is equal to true. So now at the end we will take the average value of peak RPM column. So df dot peak df peak RPM dot s type float float dot mean axis is equal to 0, and store it into avg peak RPM call. So here we stored the average value of peak RPM column. So now we will replace it to the missing values. So peak RPM dot replace np dot nan with average value avg peak RPM, then in place is equal to true. So we take the average value of each column that has numeric values, and then replace the average value with the missing values. We have two columns remaining with missing data. To see which values are present in a particular column, we can use the value counts method. So df num of doors dot value counts. We can see that four doors are the most common type. We can also use the idx max method to calculate the most common type automatically. So df num of doors dot value counts dot idx max. The replacement procedure is very similar to what we have seen previously. So df num of doors num of doors dot replace np dot nn with 4, that is most frequently occurred value in the num of doors column, in place is equal to true. Finally, let's drop all rows that do not have price data, because price is what we want to predict. Any data entry without price data cannot be used for prediction. Therefore, any row now without price data is not useful to us. So simply drop that columns, oh sorry, drop that rows df dot drop na subset price axis equal to 0 and in place is equal to true. Reset index, because we drop some rows, so df dot reset index drop is equal to true, in place is equal to true. Now we see our data df dot head. Good, we have data with no missing values. The last step in data cleaning is checking and making sure that all data is in the correct format. In pandas, we use dtype method to check the data type and as type to change the data type. So let's list the data types for each column. So df dot dtypes. As we can see, some columns are not of the correct data type. Numerical variables should have a type float or int, and variables with strings such as categories, num of doors should have type object. For example, bore and stroke variables are numerical values that describe the engine. So we should expect them to be of the type float or int. However, they are shown as type object. We have to convert data types into a proper format for each column using the as type method. So let's do it. df bore stroke. To convert it, we use as type method, convert it into float. As we can see, a price column and peak RPM column should in float type, because these are the numerical values. So we will convert it into float df price peak RPM dot as type float. And normalized losses column should be in int format df. So we copy the exact name of the column, copy it and paste it here and convert it into int. Let's list the columns after the conversion. Df dot dtypes. Just look at the column data types. Wonderful. Now we have finally obtained the clean data set with no missing values, with all data in its proper format. That's all for today's lab. See you in the next video.